Hello and welcome to episode 75 of the Dash Force Free Amigos podcast. It's the Halloween special. And if you're listening, we're all in fancy dress, so you're really missing out. Anyway, I'm Mark Mason and I'm joined by my fellow host. How's it going, Joel?
I'm chewing on stuff. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
I didn't eat anything yet today, so I need a little bagel to get me through this.
He's been on the move today.
Chuck says it's so I have to shut up once in a while so other people can talk. I know. Hey, whatever does the trick.
I think your intro should be an exception.
Yeah. And Brian, aka Mastermind, how are you?
Excellent.
And this week we have two special guests, and for very good reason. Old-time friend, it's been a long time, Chuck Williams. How's it going? Welcome back to the podcast.
Oh my God, I feel like it's been forever. But yeah, it's great to be here. I'm so glad to continue this maintain touch with the community. Excellent.
And Justin, shouldn't you be behind the typewriter? What? I'm paying you to work. What are you doing here?
I don't know. I'm not your all-time friend.
yeah. Okay.
It's good to be here, though. Mark lets me out of the cage sometimes. So he gives me a break from typing.
So those of you may be wondering, so why is Justin on the podcast with Chuck? And it's for very good reason. I want them all and Joel to debrief me because they've all been away for the shop to LA. There's been 3 different events that they've been attending. So this is actually a debrief for me and the community. So if you were completely unaware, they've been going around away for the shop. So let's just take it one conference at a time. So what was the first one? Was it CannMed?
Politicon.
So who went to that and what happened?
So it was actually a while back through a relationship from Libertopia. I was put in contact with Christina Tobin of the Free and Equal Project. You can check her out at freeandequal.org. She met with me here in Denver around the time of Denver Startup Week. She was visiting town, and that's like a big thing. And so she was interested in trying to get a Dash-based blockchain voting system ready in advance of a crypto panel, a blockchain crypto panel that she was moderating or facilitating at the Politicon event. And basically, from that conversation, we developed kind of a conversation. We weren't able to build the blockchain event, but we're planning on trying to do it before 2019. So we'll probably be back next year with the Free and Equal team, trying to create blockchain voting or contribute to that in some way. And on that panel was none other than Sterling Lujan, Joel Valenzuela, and a couple other people whose names I can't remember, but you can check that out. I'm
sure they're important.
Yeah.
I think it's worth mentioning is I also met Christina, although she kind of mostly remembers Alan from Voice and Exit that Dash sponsored. And I remember that's what really brought her attention to Dash was those 2 events. Specifically, she said the reason she wanted Dash to be on this panel was because of Ben Swan, that she saw, wow, Ben Swan sponsored by Dash. If someone let him come out of his self-imposed retirement censorship, I want to be part of whatever they're doing. They must be onto something cool.
So this wasn't a Dash-sponsored event. You was invited to attend. So for those that missed out and couldn't attend, so there was talks. What's the too long didn't read to take away for people? What was discussed in terms of Dash? What would the community want to hear from this event?
Well, I think we shared the booth with the Free and Equal team, and we basically acted as a presence. As far as I know, we were the only cryptocurrency on the floor there. We were across from the Washington Press, and behind us was MSNBC.
Washington Post, damn it, get your fake news straight.
Right. But we talked to passersby about what Dash was doing in the community, what Dash was doing in terms of trying to affect economy. It was just getting the word out. A lot of interested parties. Danny of the Crypto Show helped out with providing some of the media and T-shirts. He carts those things everywhere for us. It was great to have a presence, and I really like being in places where no other cryptocurrency is, just to get the message out and seeded into these various environments. And at Politicon, you have the most politically active people in the world looking at perhaps what is their first cryptocurrency experience, you know, here at one of these booths and seeing it in their lives, you know, coming into their space. So it makes it real for a lot of people.
What was the panel discussion, and was it recorded? I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I don't have a link for it, but the title was Blockchain Voting and kind of a Cryptocurrency 101. And Sterling Lujan of Bitcoin.com was there. And I forget the other two, but one of them, I think, writes on the cryptocurrency desk. I don't know if it was for Forbes or Inc. magazine. And the other one was a author of some kind. Do you remember, Joel?
No, not specifically. And that's why I'm being quiet, because I don't want to say something that someone's going to roast me on later. But
sure.
The panel, I believe Free and Equal did upload the live stream of the panel. I'm going to put that in an article probably for early next week for the recap of the event. So basically, it was just a talk of an introduction to cryptocurrency. I thought it was going to be initially a blockchain voting panel specifically, but it turned out to be more crypto generic. So a whole bunch of people are interested in this and kind of got to hear what it was about. What are the motivations? How is it better than traditional other systems, including voting systems, et cetera, et cetera. So, excuse me, there was a very, definitely a new crowd of people. Usually I've been to crypto conferences and then to more liberty-focused conferences, more people that are already on the same page that have already heard about it and are already down with it. This is just like everything. We had just all kinds of left, right, and center. Especially, there's a giant inflatable Trump as a baby in a diaper in the middle of the thing.
I saw that, yeah.
There's just a bunch of weird stuff. There's just a bunch of weird celebrity people running around. A bunch of stuff that I really don't care about. But, hey.
Who was on the panel?
So I get the title.
You and Chuck were on there? Or was Chuck, you were on the panel?
I recorded it, but it was Joel and Sterling Lujan and a couple other people. With Christina moderating. I just had the relationship and brought everybody together.
That's a pretty big conference though, right? I mean,
right,
I've heard people.
Yeah, 10,000, I think.
10 to 20.
Going through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even more. Yeah, and I remember like just getting into the conference, they had, you know, security and metal detectors and bomb sniffing dogs and everything. It was a little wild.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Now the conference that Justin wants to talk about, because I believe you were present at Politicon as well, right? But I think really you was more interested in the event that followed, which was CannMed. Is that correct? That was correct. In LA as well, right?
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
why did you want to go to CannMed?
Who wants to go to CannMed?
But yeah, I showed up early for CannMed, so I was just so excited I got there early. So I was at the second half of the day for Politicon, so I only caught a little bit of it. But the main reason I was there was for CannMed. As you guys probably have seen, all my articles I've been writing about the stuff they've been doing. And so CannMed is run by Medicinal Genomics, and the chief scientist is Kevin, and you probably read it in a lot of my articles, that what they're trying to do is map the cannabis genome better than has ever been done before, and they have actually achieved it. And they were funded by Dash to do this and hash the results to the Dash blockchain. And the prime motivating factor was the fact that there's a pharmaceutical company out there that is trying to patent the cannabis genome and multiple parts of it, and they have already done different genome patenting techniques. And one specifically is the Jamaican lion genome. And they patented it in 2013, and that's when they received it, or that's when the patent was filed. So that's basically the effective date. But they picked the Jamaican lion genome because if they can map it well enough and then link it back to 2007, I believe is when Kevin said, when it won the Cannabis Cup, they can prove that it existed before the patent was filed for and basically void the patent. So that's all being funded by Dash. Dash was the chief sponsor of the event, and it's all being hashed to the Dash blockchain. So it's great because it's such great technology and proves how Dash is being used as currency, but also being used to fund like medical research and enter different fields that are relevant, but you don't really think of like firsthand.
Well,
not only that, I'd like to
talk about canceling out patents and getting rid of patents. You must be triggering Craig Wright so hard right now.
Right. Yes. Any statist, anybody who believes that you can regulate and protect, institutions that want to hold on to intellectual property knowledge, essentially, is they're going to have a challenge in this new decentralized world. And that's one of the other things that I wanted to mention that I think is extremely important that probably won't be realized for perhaps decades to come, which is having a public authoritative source for genomic data protects a lot of the public. It protects the information on behalf of the public. Just getting it out in front of the public means that it can never be patented, that it can't be restricted, that it can't be suppressed, and that this information can get out there. It will be a public resource. And I think that's the archival value that's going to have economic effects for, like I say, decades to come.
And people seem to be, like, the uninitiated seem to be very, like, pro-patent. Like, if you create an invention, you do something like that, then you should absolutely have control over how it's used and be able to profit, so other people don't profit off of your hard work. Now, let's just take a second to think about this. In this case, this is a plant. You know, a little thing that grows out of the ground. And imagine if there's a plant growing half a world away. Someone could just say, nah, it's my plant. I own it. Well, what about this? No, I own all the plants. Like, just seriously,
right.
Start growing somewhere else, and you're just like, nope, that's my plant. Why? Because I found it first. Well, it's like a growing thing. It's like, can you imagine, like, finding a new species of animal, right? Like finding like a rare squirrel or something and just be like writing it down on some legal document. And then later there's just squirrels all over the world. And you just, no, I own them all. They're all mine.
Yeah,
like that is completely nonsensical.
Yeah, there's two different ways to look at it, though. You have the strains that have been around for thousands of years, but you also have strains that people have bred that have taken like years. It takes pretty much, I mean, if they pop the seeds and go through the process, it takes years to isolate the specific genetics, and then that's like a whole new plant. And that's what they're patenting. However, there is a great TED Talks about patents and basically saying that, you know, without patents, it actually increases the you know, creativity in the market and stuff. And then they were showing about like luxury clothes like Gucci and stuff, and they said they don't care if people knock off our stuff. He said that's not the clientele that we're going after. The people who are buying Gucci, for the most part, they want the authenticity. Exactly.
Yeah, not only that. So you make a great point there, Brian, and I want to dovetail that because that's one of the big things that I see as that archival knowledge. It's a public library that will be a resource for when you want to, I want to breed this with this, and I want to breed that with that. And you need to know what that and that are in order to get, you know, what you're going for. You know, the
medical effects, they can tailor it to specific diseases and stuff like that. If you got anxiety, you want this. If you have cancer, you want that. Yeah. And the Jamaican lion thing, I knew that they were looking at that, but I did not know the backstory about why they were doing it because of that other patent. That's very cool. That's great. That's excellent.
Yeah, and actually, it's pretty interesting too, because they just published the preprint of the paper, which isn't like, it's not published yet, but it's just like, here's an initial release of the paper. And as soon as they published it, they said a cannabis coalition in Canada reached out to them and said, hey, can we use this in our legal defense? Because the pharmaceutical company is trying to enforce it in Canada too. Because in the US, it's kind of tricky since it's illegal federally. They kind of can enforce and not enforce it depending on the state. But now they're pushing it to Canada, and the patent's a little less broad in Canada just because of the legalese. But this cannabis coalition in Canada is like, hey, can we use this in our defense? So hopefully Dash will appear in like a court defense defending like anti-patents one day.
Yeah, I actually saw how they recorded it and everything too. It was right now they're storing, I forget exactly where they're storing the actual genome data, but they're referencing it on the Dash blockchain by using the opcode and then sending it to a burn address, I believe. So you just see the transaction. You showed me like the block cipher, block explorer with the little transaction, the hash to that. And of course, it doesn't mean it's completely decentralized right now, in that because they have to store it somewhere. But first off, there's a little thing coming along called Dash Drive in the Dash 1.0 release that will allow a completely distributed IPFS-based file system, so that you can just store it in a completely censorship-proof area and then store the hash on the blockchain that references to it. So I know Kevin's really excited about what Evolution could do on that. And not to mention, I think you guys might have remembered a few weeks ago, we had Tito from Dash Labs. I interviewed him, and we had him explain about the Dash Labs data collection protocol, which is meant to do this kind of thing as well, in order to help log scientific research upload it, have a marketplace for it, allow people to properly log their ownership of it too. And now we're not talking about stuff so you can like, go out and sue people, but just like the cannabis genome, same thing. You can just put that, and you can just prove who researched it, who found it first, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of exciting developments in the world of scientific research with Dash right now. I don't know how other projects are doing with that right now, but right now this seems pretty cool.
Yeah, we need to get Tito on the podcast because there was a lot of that interview raised more questions in it than it did.
Can you afford a decent microphone?
Right.
Well, you should get Kevin on.
Yeah, I just want to get a bit of structure because there's a lot to talk about here, and I'm just trying to look at it through the eyes of the community. So at CannMed, there was a lot that happened.
So are you telling us to shut up and stop rambling?
Well, I'm just thinking about
Notice well, I hate that answer. Well is just like, yeah, but I don't know to say so. So here we go. First off, I want to give a big thank you to the Crypto Show because I saw 2 videos of 2 talks. One was of Chuck, who gave his talk. So I'd like to talk to Chuck about his talk. Then Joel, we can talk about your talk that you did there. And then finally, Justin, if you can talk about Kevin's presentation, that'd be great. So first off, thank you to Danny for uploading those 2 videos. I've only seen Joel's and Chuck's. I don't know if Kevin's is uploaded, but I'd love to see that if his talk was recorded. Anyway, so Chuck, you gave the talk. And basically, from memory, you were talking about the 3 technical revolutions in your lifetime from memory. Is that correct? You were just saying how the internet inspired you, and you was just, because you're at this event and you're talking about Dash, and obviously a lot of people there are cannabis advocates. Were they receptive to this? I mean,
yeah. So actually, I was on stage twice, and that was the first time in the crypto track. So CannMed, because Dash was a diamond sponsor, basically we had allocated a whole room and lined up a bunch of speakers, including Lynn Ulbricht of Free Ross, for those who don't know. She spoke there also. And as well as Joel, and Horizon Coin was there. But I was talking about
Zencash.
Yeah, formerly Zencash. And I was talking about, basically, I was entreating this audience, assuming that everybody was a newbie or uninitiated into the crypto space, saying, look, this is an economic revolution that's happening. And whether you choose Dash or any other cryptocurrency, Dash just happens to be here in this space. And Dash just happens to be the one that I've chosen to promote because in my software development experience and based on the number of revolutions I've been through, the PC revolution, the internet revolution, and the information revolution that's followed. Yeah, and now we're witnessing what I guess could be called the value revolution. I feel like we're just at this early stage of this value revolution. I try to get people to see that this is indeed a revolution that's going to happen. It's not going to go away. This isn't something that's just going to change, because a lot of people thought that that personal computers were going to go away. Nobody thought that you could make them useful. And a lot of people thought that the internet was going to go away because we already had fax machines, So there are people who think that cryptocurrency is actually going to go away, and little do they know it's going to change everything. So absolutely, yeah, I think that was the thing that I was talking about, entreating to the crowd who had already kind of opted into the crypto track, because it was openly broadcast that it was a crypto track. Now on the main stage, which had very many more people, and I'm pretty sure it was recorded and may be coming out however CannMed distributes their content. That one was very much more generic and talked more specifically about what Dash was doing with CannMed in the cannabis community, and just we talked about the science of the projects, the revolutionary change that's coming on with the publishing, journaling. We didn't even talk about that, but they want a revolution. Well, we did. It was mentioned just a little bit, but changing how journals are peer reviewed or research is peer reviewed and published. That's something that Dash is working on with CannMed, also with Kevin McKernan, and I think that's going to be a big revolution. And learning, it's important to understand the audience there, and the other talks that we're talking super high science, super high academia. I mean, every talk had chemical breakdowns and charts of test results and very detailed data. You're talking to a medical and scientific and academic audience. These are professors, these are scientists who are groundbreaking in all of their fields, learning how to heal the world with this, around this plant, basically, is a big part of it. So
yeah, I mean, it's definitely for me been part of a long transition away from thinking of just like I just, obviously growing up, it's just like, oh, it's drugs. Drugs are bad and and then just to, well, yeah, it's probably not that bad. It could have some health benefits. And now it's just kind of blown away at just how much science goes into this, just how many different applications, just how you don't ever need to get high at all for this to be still something that all the world is going to be scrambling over to find out how they can make the human race better. So it's very, very interesting.
Cannabis is a miracle plant, no question about it. And hemp does the same thing in the industrial side of it. I mean, it literally is a miracle plant, miracle drug.
Yeah,
Wow.
it does a lot of things, and so so how influential this market. That's why Dash is there, basically, is to help enable, because the banks aren't serving them, they're having banking troubles, and that was one of the main reasons. But also, there's scientific and academic things happening.
Well, that's the thing is, I was talking to a bunch of people, and first off, the cryptocurrency presence here was pretty overwhelming. Well, not overwhelming, but it was not to be understated. And that's one of those things that, I mean, obviously I believe crypto's in the future. If you're watching this and you don't believe crypto's in the future, what's wrong with you? But like, if you think that way, then you start to see just how cutting edge a conference or a group of people is based on how heavy of a crypto presence is there in general. Because whether or not crypto people are kicking down their door to try to speak or have booths there, whatever, they should be reaching out to this. And so, for example, obviously there's a big old Dash booth. Horizon was also there. Also, Globy was there. I don't know if anyone knows them. That's a Fluffy Ponies company, the payment processor. I heard someone from the Dash team was potentially successful in negotiating them adding Dash to their platform, although I'm pretty sure that'll be vetoed by top brass. But anyway, just an overwhelming response from a lot of people. They knew about cryptocurrency. They knew about Dash. They knew what it was doing already with the genome, because Kevin and the others have been really instrumental in bringing that to them. And the booth right across from us was a supplier of dispensaries, just supply a lot of equipment and things like that. No banking troubles for them whatsoever. They have fully legal business, have bank accounts, etc., based in Atlanta. And then when they end up receiving payment from a dispensary out in Las Vegas, they literally have to send an armored truck Atlanta to Las Vegas, which is, I don't know, thousands of miles, I think.
Wow.
Gather a whole bunch of cash and just drive it on over. And so we came during like an off hour. He came by the Dash table, and I talked to him, and he was talking about, I of course mentioned all 36 and all kinds of stuff like that. But in the meantime, I'm figuring out a good way of jury rigging a similar system. Obviously, all 36 seems to be the polished, perfect solution where you just got like one thing that comes and integrates to all your banking platform and gets all your payroll and taxes calculated, and then you do the whole B2B trading on the whole platform via CannTrade, etc., and just like all this cool, awesome, fancy stuff. But I mean, we'll see how much that picks up. And in the meantime, if you're just a small fry, or if all 36 isn't like available yet and you want to get started now, I'm thinking of some ways of getting them.
Right. And there are a lot of businesses that were having a presence there, and that is one of the big things. I probably told that story of, hey, you can solve your cash problem with Dash if you get your suppliers to take it, if your employees are willing to take it, if, there's a lot of, and they're starting to see, oh, this is an economic model. Like if I dive into this whole hog, then this really can solve a lot of my problems. And I was trying to plant the seed in these entrepreneurs' ideas, these growers' heads, that they can start to talk to their people about coordinating and exchanging value in Dash, and then they don't have to worry about the whole banking problem. They don't have to worry about the shipping cash around problem. And
the best part is, this is a industry by its nature primed for cryptocurrency adoption, because they have two main factors. I mean, first, obviously, they have terrible banking problems, so that literally it's just the one industry that operates openly with a highly publicly demanded product, but yet just can't have access to banking. It's tailor-made for Dash. And if Dash doesn't get in there like now, there will be a time, probably not too far from now, when the banking problems will not be problems anymore. This thing is going mainstream and legal in more ways you can imagine, and it just won't be that long until like a federal ban gets lifted or something like that. I'm not being optimistic. That's actually pessimistic for Dash, because
no,
like,
actually,
let's get on it. Timeline.
That legislation is in front of Wyoming right now. I interviewed Caitlin Long on the crypto show this past, just yesterday, I think it was. And she was talking about how they not only have done a 180 and become a crypto friendly state from being a crypto unfriendly state, but now they have this state bank law that's going to make it easier for banks to actually facilitate financing for cannabis businesses and other questionable businesses like guns and pornography and exchanges. That legislation is getting in front of them on the next voting floor.
Whole Tarantino, the Hateful Eight kind of vibe. But that's the thing is, so that's the one thing. But the other thing we got to realize is I had no idea how risky the cannabis industry was, being a cannabis business, because first off, I mean, just anything new, but like, right during CannMed, some major dispensary was robbed of I don't know how much in cash. They're just hijacked, armed robbery, just took it all because they got cash. And there's the risk of, say, the feds coming in and actually just repossessing a lot of the cash, just taking it too. There's also a lot of these cannabis businesses just have bank accounts and then they get shut down. Have another account, then they get shut down. They're just on this constant process. It's an insanely risky world that I just cannot imagine.
Exactly.
The buds of steel that you have to have in order to run one of these.
Just to tell the story, and I find these stories really valuable. I was told a story about one business owner who was involved in the cannabis industry who had basically all of his accounts, like he was given 24 hours notice to shut down every single account that he had, including his children's college funds, his business funds, his personal funds, his mother's retirement fund, all of that. That was, he had power of attorney over. All of it had to be shut down within 24 hours because he was involved in the cannabis business and he had too many red flags. Several $1 million worth of stuff had to be moved within 24 hours. Otherwise, much of it was going to be literally lost and confiscated.
Wow. So these people are not cryptocurrency people or like freedom, liberty people necessarily, but they just are all just down with cryptocurrency. You don't have to sell them. A lot of times you get these people walking by, I'm just skeptical. What is it backed by? Well, what if it becomes illegal? Like all this kind of like nonsense questions.
What did you talk about? What was your talk about? And what kind of questions did they ask?
Yeah, so I was kind of tacked on at the very end of the crypto track, and I was mostly there to support the booth. But basically, I was talking about why decentralization matters of payment systems. Which, of course, people kind of instinctively, we'll just use this because you can. They don't understand you will always be able to. But then I also talked about problems with too open-ended of a system, that the fees can go insane, the transaction, everything can run kind of not smoothly like a business expects, and you're kind of helpless too. And basically how Dash manages to do the best of both worlds. And then I just sort of opened up some extra questions, got some extra feedback, and yeah, it was good. We'll embed all this stuff eventually, thinking Monday in an article for the recap. But yeah, it was a pretty good, exhilarating time. Very extremely intelligent and polished and professional. And I remember from just not that long ago, just getting more involved with people who are fans of cannabis and things like that. Just a very amateurish, unprofessional vibe to it. Just like, yeah, man, we're blazing, man, and just smelly hippie vibe, and just like kind of a loser vibe that this was just the absolute opposite of. This is like the smartest people in the world, the most creative, the most risk-taking in the purely good way. Just everything was on point, and it was definitely an industry that Dash needs to be the official cryptocurrency of.
So, Justin, was there any like freebies? Was you disappointed? And more importantly,
can you tell about the spray, man? Because I know joke. That'll have to be an in joke. Sorry, we'll tell you on the after party.
But like Justin, like, was it what you expected? Because I know you had really high hopes, and I think really what the community wants to know is what Kevin had to say. Did he talk about Dash Labs? Because that announcement last week, it didn't divide the community. It just wasn't what they expected to hear. But a lot of people thought about Dash Labs and thinking, Kevin, I wonder what he would do with that, because that kind of ties in. And as he's in academia and what you're saying, and the audience there, how did it play out? Paint me a picture. How did it go?
Paint you like one of your French girls.
Yeah.
So definitely, I think it lived up to my expectations. I mean, there were some free samples, but mostly like CBD oil, stuff like that. But still, really cool. But it didn't, like, my expectations going in was like, this is an academic conference. Like, this isn't like when you go to like a cannabis cup event. You know, it's not going to be like grows, different types like that. It's going to be people that are academics. They're going to be people who grow, dispensaries, distributors, but it's mostly about like research, like Joel said, very high end, very professional people. And it did live up to that end. And definitely I really enjoyed Kevin's talk. Unfortunately, I always only heard like the second half of it, which was the cryptocurrency part. So that was good. I missed the academic part just with like booth stuff and everything. But if you go to read his pre-paper, he covered mostly the same stuff, which is very in-depth. And if you're into it, it's very worth learning more about it. I had to remember stuff from my
he gets
class.
He gets into how the current process of journaling a little bit, like how a peer-reviewed study actually gets peer-reviewed after it's been studied, and the costs and the friction involved with actually getting it published and out into the public, and basically how and the Dash logo is all over his presentation about where Dash is inserting itself into the process that he's proposing, and I think has already passed, right? The proposal submission process.
Yeah, like he went into that too. So like he would talk about how like Dash funded his research, like his actual medical research of like researching the cannabis genome and learning more about it. And then he talked about how they hashed it to the Dash blockchain, gave a brief overview of Dash in general and cryptocurrency in general, which was very informative because like most of these people here are scientists, researchers. Like they might have heard of Bitcoin, not much about cryptocurrency. So they learned a lot more about Dash. And then he also went into the fact about like the future potential, because he discussed how basically what they did with hashing everything to the Dash blockchain was basically brute force. But then he led into Dash Labs and how they're basically trying to institutionalize it to a point where any researcher can easily pick this up, go to a platform that's easily usable, has a great user interface, great user experience, and can hash their own research to the Dash blockchain. And he really highlighted on this fact of how Dash has a great future, not just for cannabis, but for academic research in general. And the part that really stuck with me was the fact that right now the current peer review process relies on getting people to review your paper, but everyone in academia is extremely busy. They don't get paid a lot. So the people that tend to review these papers tend to be the people that don't value their time. But when you're researching very high level material, you want people who value their time, who are busy, and you're going to have to compensate them for that. You're going to have to bring a system of economic incentives into the world. And with Dash, he believes that that can be accomplished.
Yeah, I skipped that paper, and one thing I think is the same one. And he talked about how he had to transfer Dash, and he had to like go to Coinbase and switch it to Bitcoin or Shapeshift and Bitcoin and all that. I got a question about the new Uphold integration. I don't know if any of you all had a chance to check it out, but do we know if that's able to? I know Joel's talked about in the past to where you could set up an address, so you could basically take Dash, and then on the back end, it automatically switches it through Uphold. Is that now possible with the app?
Yeah, but it's kind of like that's for paying something with Dash. I guess you can just have a static. Yeah. So here's the thing
for a merchant. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was already possible with the merchant, where they have their Uphold account, and then the static address you could send to it, and it converts automatically to Dash there. So they could technically have that Uphold integrated into their Dash wallet as well. But that would be a little bit weird to have to receive Dash to fiat and access the fiat from their Dash wallet rather than just receive it directly.
Yeah, I'm thinking just the merchant has the Dash wallet, or anybody can have it. Yeah, just to make it easy.
Yeah, here's another thing one could do. One could have a static Dash address to a Dash wallet in Uphold rather than the fiat balance, and then they just all their Dash payments they just get straight to their Uphold account in Dash. And then on their phone, they can either transfer that and spend it, or if they need something as fiat in their bank, they can do all that just from their one app. So either way, it's like it's really cool. Like literally, all you have to do, you can get a small merchant easily integrated into Dash on just their phone, just entire ecosystem as a user, as a receiver, and link to their bank account for when they need all that stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'll be writing up some guides and getting some flyers that are more specific related to that. But the friction's going down.
So yeah, we need
there's still a little bit of friction there.
You talking about the fee?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing that annoys me right now, and I mean, obviously, I'm not here to talk smack, but it's just, yeah. So right now, Uphold's, when you have Uphold, you buy Dash, it's like 1.25%, or rather, you sell Dash for fiat 1.25%, and then it's like I think a $4 flat wire transfer fee to get to your bank. So as a merchant, you can just have it locked up in USD, and then when you have like over $200 or more, if you just transfer it to your bank, it's still cheaper than using, say, a Square point of sale system. But now the other way around, you can get your Dash, you can buy Dash for the same amount, but then there's a $3 fee to move any cryptocurrency off the platform. So say you bought like $20 worth of Dash, then you have a giant chunk of that taken out, and it's just like, oh, really? Because part of the reason of having it on your mobile wallet is so you can buy small amounts and just use it. So I roasted them on Twitter a little bit because that's kind of what I do. I'm not very good at traditional communication channels and stuff like that, and respect and things. So let me see what they actually said. They actually responded. So I just said something like, because Ernesto, the guy who works for Brad in BizDev, he said he put up some pictures of his Uphold swag, where he says, like, one T-shirt says "Hi Money, I'm home," and the other one says "Uphodl."
I saw that,
which is kind of funny. And then
I just cute.
Yeah, and I just chimed in, see if you can get them to do away with that awful $3 fee to move your Dash to your wallet. And then Uphold comments. He says, "Hi, our team is reviewing the current fee structure and will hopefully have an update for you soon." So I might have Twitter shamed them into doing something about the fee. We'll see. Not credit.
That'd be nice.
A bunch of people chimed in too. But yes.
Yeah, that's really the only downside is what do they need that additional fee for to move Dash off? I mean, yeah, I get it. You're holding the keys, but that seems like quite a bit.
Yeah, so that means if you wanted to spend Dash from your Uphold account, it would still cost like a $3 transaction fee. And the reason for that, there could be a few. I'm honestly thinking it's a socialization of Bitcoin's nasty fees. Like if Bitcoin costs like $5 to move or anything like that.
Speculation is fact.
Boom. Roasted. That's a joke. That's something we all know to be a joke. Anyway, yeah, so that's the thing that makes sense, because I know that different exchanges have different fee structures for moving off, and sometimes they're dependent on what the currency's fees actually are. And so I forget which exchange, but one of the major exchanges recently significantly lowered Monero's withdrawal fee, because their formerly horrific fees have now gotten pretty reasonable with the new update. And so they just pestered them. No, we don't want to charge so much to withdraw, and then they did it. So hopefully it's the same thing with Uphold, where they're just saying, Bitcoin costs $3, so everything will cost $3, so we don't have to complicate stuff. But then Dash users are like, dude, it costs a fraction of a penny to send a transaction. Why are you fleecing us, man? So let's hope we get somewhere, because that would be just like that one app solution is just killer.
It would be a big step in the right direction. Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of social media, I saw a photo, I think, of all three of you with Ken Bozak, and I believe that was that World CryptoCon. Was this all in the close vicinity? Was this like
no? World CryptoCon is still like a week away. It better not be now, or I'm late and I have to jump on a flight. Oh, so what event? There was a third event you guys attended. It was not an event. This is where this is actually where Alan is right now. I wish he could join us, but he's doing the Lord's work. There's a co-working, there's a space called the Crypto Space in San Pedro, which is like a suburb of LA, and it's It's basically like a co-working space. Like it has like an upper floor with a whole bunch of desks and stuff for people to co-work. A co-working space / event space dedicated to cryptocurrencies with like a cool ATM and everything, and like a whole bunch of crypto meetups. It's like a crypto hub, and it's really cool. Yes. I know Danny's been there before, and Alan's setting up. I think I see he sent a picture, like set up right outside it with a bunch of Dash banners and a table, like right outside the crypto space.
We interviewed him on the crypto show. Ernesto Huerta is the owner there. We interviewed him. That should be coming out soon. And yeah, and he's working out a deal that we can't really talk too much about, but with ATMs, the Vault Logic ATMs. That could be big, could be very big. When we can't really talk about it until that interview lands. So there's a big announcement coming soon.
Vault Logic ATMs. I've not heard of them before. Like, are they mainly in the States? Or is it like 10, 20 ATMs, or are they quite big? Or
well, they were at the Denver Startup Week when I was there with Doug Scribner, who was a former CEO of Ethereum. He's moved over to work on the with the Vault Logic team. And Cassie just put up a pre-proposal, who's also working with Vault Logic, for a bunch of Vault Logic ATMs. I think she just posted it today or yesterday in the Dash Discord. It's a pre-proposal involving Vault Logic ATMs with a big drop of ATMs and 67% of the earnings going back to the Masternode network or Dash Ventures, so they're kind of tweaking the pre-proposal right now. But Ernesto has one of those ATMs in the crypto space. Ken Bozak was there, and a few other crypto people. They have crypto meetups there all the time. But it's a fairly new space. It's under construction, and there's a bit of a co-working space. So if you're involved in the cryptocurrency industry, yeah, go check it out. It's in San Pedro crypto space.
And speaking of ATMs, like I just want to bring up the point, like when we were at the booth, there's this guy that owned a bunch of ATMs around the LA area, and Alan was talking to him a lot. He's just like, the guy's like, hey, I own a bunch of cash ATMs.
Regular ATMs,
yeah. And he's like, I want to get into crypto. I think something he said was along the lines of like, if anyone's gonna put me out of business, I want to be the one that puts myself out of business. And so he like came behind the table. He was talking to Alan for like, I don't even know, like a half hour or so. And like, we sent him Dash and everything. So like, it shows like
that was that guy. Yeah, I came in on the tail end of that conversation.
Oh, okay, yeah. And like you can talk about how dedicated he was and like how interested he was in Dash. And he's like, hey,
he was ready to move.
Yeah, he's like, I've heard about crypto, but just seeing you guys here and hearing everything, like, you made me a Dash person now.
Well, speaking of which, you three, meaning Chuck, Joel, and Justin, you need to feed me and Brian in some stuff. So like me and Brian are gonna be like the Shark Tank. Brian and I are gonna be like the Shark Tank investors right now, because Joel kind of teased the community on Discord about some kind of like street team Dash boost thing.
I'm a teaser.
We don't know anything about this, meaning myself and Brian, or Brian and I. Can you just like explain what this is all about? Just like sell me on it. What is this?
Yes. So it's an idea I've kind of had for pretty much the whole year. I kind of started it at basically. What we have is the Dash community kind of tends to just hang out with themselves. Doesn't really go out to the world. Dash is, in my view, from just looking at all this stuff, and was talking with Chuck a whole lot about what the evolution version 1.0 will include. I'm just always blown away. I'm just like, dude, these mofos in the rest of the cryptocurrency space just have no idea what's coming. They're just not prepared. I stayed up until like I was trying to go to bed.
I keep throwing out the caveat. It's not going to land for 2 to 5 years. It's just going to take that long for people to realize and for it to get built.
That's what I'm saying is I was just looking at everything I spent. I was trying to go to bed by like 1 last night. It was like 4:30. I was still awake because I was just reading through Coda Block's old posts about signature schemes and stuff and trying to understand them and comparing and reading articles on Schnorr's signatures and comparing back and forth. I'm just like, dude. Like, people don't realize this is like the sleeping giant. And you just look at copy and paste Litecoin. I'm like, people don't realize that Dash isn't just a coin mixer and like a masternode system and that's it on a normal. Like, this is so beyond everything else. And so, how amazing can it be if no one uses it, right?
Yeah.
So one thing we did, I think, remember, I submitted proposals to sponsor 5 different events this year, to speak at 4, I believe, or speak at 5, sponsor 4. And that was kind of a test run to just get out there and get more exposure on Dash, but mostly to just see what worked. And then Alan Flying Free, also known as on Discord and Twitter, I met him at the open house when I met Evan way back in the day, and met Chuck. Yeah, we're all crypto OG here. And he and I have been kind of collaborating on this. He's brokered a whole lot of these sponsorships, like most of them, and he's been the hustler getting everything together. But we have this idea of, why don't we do what we've been doing at these just few events, but why don't we do it globally at just about all the crypto events? Maybe not big sponsorships, but at least have a team there all the time and just organize them. And since then, the idea sort of evolved around the concept of what I've started to call Dash Points, which I don't know if we're going to keep that name. It is what it is. We'll figure out as we come along. But like a Dash Point might be at a minimum, a permanent meetup. Like, you notice I just recently started this every other week meetup here in Portsmouth. Just a permanent meetup, a place where just newbies can show up to, a place to gather people around. At this highest level, a Dash Point would be something like the Dash Embassy, that has like a whole dedicated team of people that are just running around doing integrations, or like, say, the crypto space. And so basically find these kinds of hubs to connect people and connect with people, and then use them as kind of a base of operations to go out and talk to merchants, go out and talk to users, go out and talk to street vendors, go out to conferences, et cetera, et cetera. And basically
show up at events.
Try to do is have the entire world covered, swarming with little Dash activists, and not just going around telling people, oh, Dash is great, I'll get you a wallet, but like turn them into actual Dash users, to where they're like, all right, look, I'll set you all the way up so you have some, you can get more. I'll show you the ways that it economically makes sense to be using Dash, actually saves you money to use it. And here you go, here's all you need to get started. And then check back with them. I was also inspired. I mean, obviously I was inspired by swarm kind of activism, swarm organizing techniques, but also, of course, the Dash Embassy and how they've been creating a big space to just go out and go to all conferences and meetups, and then talk to partners for integrations, things like that. And of course, I'm also consulting with them on how they do stuff and how they do their like their presentations and their materials, and what approach works and what doesn't. And of course, the amazing job the Venezuelan team has done. And that's the thing that I don't think that anyone really realizes. Everyone just thinks, oh, Venezuela is terrible, so if you just have someone saying crypto, then they'll all take it. Like, there's so much hard work that went into that, under the 2,000 plus merchants there. It's not just hard work, but it's smart work. It's just a team saying, like, I got to figure out how to make sure this makes sense. I got to approach all the right businesses, got to make an effective sales pitch, set them up, send them some customers, check back and make sure. Yeah, make sure everything is working as intended. Make sure their concerns are addressed. Just like actually growing up and being a part of the real world economy, rather than just like, hey man, Bitcoin's great, man, you should use it, and it's just hoping that Square or some other giant processor is just going to integrate it and do all the hard work. Which I think grossly unfair to some people who have been actually working really hard on other cryptocurrencies to get real adoption going. But I'm just saying, we're ready to take this to them.
So this ties in.
Yeah, where does Chuck fit into all this? Because you mentioned yourself and Alan, so I'm just thinking, like, I thought you guys were brainstorming something. So
he's just along for the ride.
Well, I mean, it fits for me for a lot of good reasons. I mean, I have a fundamental belief, and this fundamental belief is indeed one of the reasons that I support the Dash ecosystem altogether, is that without network effect, it's worthless. You can have the greatest technology, but if you don't have network effect, it's worthless. And what we're talking about here is being a catalyst for network effect, and I really love that idea. And I was even more encouraged by it because I interviewed Trace Mayer over the weekend while at Politicon, I think, and he has these 7 network effects, and I got it out of him. It's speculation, merchants, consumers, miners, developers, financialization, he says, and world reserve settlement currency. Now, I think Dash has the merchants and consumers, like we're at an advantage there with the existence of a Dash core group, kind of a consistent team that provides some level of stability, and some entity that can be contacted and connected, from a business perspective. And then on the consumer side, we're out there, we're in conferences, we're talking to people, it's approachable, we're intending to bring on those consumers. And, it's had its speculation side. It's got proof of work. So there is a minor component. And this is one of the things that we also talked about from the street team perspective. Developers, we're a little weak on the developer side. So maybe we start to put together hackathons.
Let me qualify. Let me explain that. Weak on the developer side doesn't mean that Dash has weak developers or Dash has a weak quantity and quality of them.
Yeah.
The Dash core team has an amazing, great, giant developer team that's working on all kinds of amazing stuff that no one else really is.
Right.
That means is the community open source kind of development side.
Right. Now, a community of developers.
Yes. Dash is an open source project. And Dash, just like all these other cryptocurrencies, but based on just the way the core team tends to work, tends to be a little corporate. And the way they also just having a dedicated development team that gets paid kind of crowds out in a certain way some kind of extra developers on the protocol.
Well,
and
not only that, but looking from
it doesn't have to, but it kind of does right now.
I was going to say, looking from a developer perspective, most of the developers that are even working on the Dash team, they came from somewhere else. They came from Bitcoin or they came from Ethereum. Nobody starts from Dash and goes to someplace else. We want to really, in terms of cryptocurrency, like that, their introductory into cryptocurrency, even Codablock, if I recall correctly, he came from a Bitcoin background and became attracted to Dash because of the structure and the economic.
And now most people probably have come from either Bitcoin or especially Bitcoin because it's the first, and then maybe Ethereum because of the giant developer community and just it's more famous. But the point being that a lot of times the Dash community, the proposal that's passed all the time that funds development is for the core team, and then people just want to get involved with Dash, and there isn't this quite as much of a big volunteer development community. There's just like, well, you can do a proposal. And it's like, if you want to develop something extra and you're not the core team, it's a little bit, it's like in people's minds, it's harder than people think, oh, I got to do a proposal, I got to get paid. And if it doesn't work, then they just don't do anything. This is kind of like weird little idea. And there's been some important projects that have been really peeling away from this. For example, my Dash wallet, I love what they've been doing. We're going to do our own thing. Dash Nexus, stuff like that. But largely what we really need to do is I believe the Edge team has said that the Dash developers are some of the hardest to get in touch with of all the cryptocurrencies. Just to head down, working down on evolution, all that kind of stuff. And that needs to change. And that doesn't mean you just yell at, hey, Codablock, do more work. Like, dude, leave the guy alone.
Right.
Sometimes you just need to build a developer community outside of the core team that's laser focused on developing that final product. I think, and that's where Chuck comes in. Chuck is a Dash developer. And Chuck is also a great community evangelist and activist. People like Chuck are a great catalyst for jumpstarting this open source development community and just going to conferences, having hackathons, all this kind of stuff, funneling developers into the Dash ecosystem, especially when the Evolution DApp platform comes out. You can build anything off it. Funnel them all in there. And with Chuck as their great ringleader.
And so that's where it ties into where I'm going in my personal life. I don't know if I've announced it overly publicly, but a lot of people in my life know that I'm moving to Hawaii next month. Oh, wow. And Hawaii has some very interesting kind of demographics about it, in that, it's 70% of the population lives on the island of Oahu, where I will be, where the capital of Honolulu is. And the other 30% is kind of scattered across the islands. There's a lot of kind of emptiness around there. But in even that population, 1.5 million, it's very kind of dense and enclosed. But one of the frustrating things about Hawaii is that it's not a very crypto-friendly state. It was back in, I think, 2017 when Wyoming and Hawaii were two states that passed a capital banking law where institutions that were custodial of funds like Coinbase were basically in those states, they would have to have had an equal amount of fiat currency backing every cryptocurrency account that they had in those states, which just made it unreasonable for them to act and operate in those states. So if you have a Hawaii address, you can't have a Coinbase account. And that was also true of Wyoming up until recently when they reclassified cryptocurrencies, at least utility tokens, as property. So Wyoming has done a complete 180 and become a very crypto-friendly state. Colorado, where I live, they're already on the way. There's a Colorado blockchain group that was signed into existence by the governor, and they are blazing a wonderful trail for crypto friendliness here in Colorado. I feel like while it would be exciting to stay here, I think it's going to be great to try to go to Hawaii and really make that shift and see it from the ground up and get in contact with anybody who can make that a legally friendly state. We're going to do it from the ground up by building and connecting with businesses, building relationships with legal entities, and pulling in developers, building a community there, and then that's kind of the idea, just turning around the state. And if Dash can be the lead charge on that with with my help and communicating, I'm talking to Danny about getting the crypto show broadcast there on the Bloomberg AM station. We'll just bring a strong presence all at once and coordinate how to indeed change a crypto hostile environment to a crypto friendly environment. And we're going to learn along the way.
When I think of Hawaii, I think of it as a holiday destination. Is it like so? Tourism must be pretty big there. So I'm just thinking in terms of cryptocurrency tourism. We're hearing this term a lot now. So if Chuck is going to be the Dash point of Hawaii, and what he's mentioned, it's very densely populated. So I'm guessing if you manage to get some merchants on board, you could get a snowball effect quite easily. I would think.
Absolutely.
Why? But whatever.
Yeah. I mean, in 2017, Hawaii had 9.5 million visitors visit, and they're projecting, it's over 11 million by 2021 visitors, which is 10 times the population of the islands itself. So, a lot of people coming through. If they see a lot of businesses using Dash, accepting Dash, I think that would be a very crypto-friendly state. Also, it's a stopover between all of the Far East and the West Coast of America. So a lot of people go in dual traffic, and there's a lot of crypto activity happening in Tokyo and Hong Kong, and the Far East is happening.
It's definitely got potential. I'm getting brainwaves from Brian, Mastermind, and he's communicating with me, and he's just saying Hawaii. He's calculating those Dash numbers in his head. He's saying, what's the employment rate like? Have they got the money for this? So like what for us international folk, is in terms of employment and money there, is it all good? Do you have any stats or data on that?
Yeah, I was actually looking at it. I was prompted to look at it not too long ago. The unemployment rate, the official unemployment rate is 2.2%. Which is pretty low. The median household income is over $77,000. Median home value is about $616,000. And I think the median household income is somewhere around $120,000. But yeah, there are people with money. I mean, Hawaii, one of the first questions that somebody asked when I was visiting there, and I told somebody that I was going to move there, they said, well, how did you make your millions? Because they just assumed that anybody who's moving to Hawaii is indeed a millionaire. So and I said, no, I'm just going to come out and, I'm going to be living in a small 1-bedroom cottage with my wife. It's going to be very quaint. But I'm going to, get to work and get in the community, and it's going to encourage me to build the Dash community there, because there's not a strong presence. But I'm already in touch with the Telegram community out there. There's a small contingency of very dedicated crypto people. One of them actually went and looked at homes for me while I wasn't there. It would FaceTime for me and show me these places that we wanted to look at. So there's what's happening in Dash in terms of the network effect of close-knit community that we've experienced on Discord and Dash Nation. It also exists in other crypto branches, right? And I think they're very happy to have me. A lot of people know, they were aware of my work, and I think have been kind of keeping up ever since I announced that I'm coming. And it's going to be a strong family once we get there, and then it'll just only grow.
Yeah. So to rope that back into the original street team kind of idea, yes, many street teams. The idea of, first off, obviously just have people on the street on the on the ground, going out, talking to people, all centered around these specific Dash points, like permanent meetups. And I mean, this isn't like rocket science or anything new. All the cryptos out there. How many Bitcoin meetups are there? How many Ethereum meetups? Just people are all about the meetups. Start with the base layer and then connect them all together with the network. And more importantly, when you grab people, when you get people interested, you can't just say, "Oh yeah, it's just great. Come to the meetup. Oh, we'll get you a wallet." There's steps beyond that. You have to throw them into funnels.
Right.
Funnel. And
provide for them opportunities to engage.
Yes, and Chuck is the key, or rather, what we were talking about is the key to one of those funnels, the developer funnel. Oh, this sounds cool. I really want to do whatever. Where can I learn more? No, just Dash docs. Let's just no. Have a good set of developer documentation. Get a good developer community. Get a developer spiritual guide. Like,
Chuck, who do I talk to? I can point people to people.
Come with his like Moses sandals and gnarled root staff and just go take them on. Let me take you on a journey through Dappy and just kind of show them into.
Looking forward to that.
Throw a whole lot of people in there. So, for example, I'm a business. How do I get started with Dash? Boom, another funnel. Go there. Yeah.
Right.
What are the apps you got to use? What are the fiat conversion things? How can you actually save money on this? User, why should I use Dash? Well, here, we'll get you all set up. Here's the place you could actually save money using it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Awesome.
Yeah, what we need is like a meetup program to like incentivize these things. We need to figure that out.
Yeah,
we can figure that out.
That's actually a really good idea. Did you come up with that on your own?
I don't know.
I want to know how
being Dash Force has already been doing that for a very long time.
How are you going to fund it, man? Because you mentioned Dash Boost, Joel, when you gave your teaser in Discord. So, like, are you just hoping to create some kind of like standardized approach, and then other people can replicate that with a Dash Boost thing? Have you even got that far yet, or are you still brainstorming?
I have an opinion on this.
I think I need So first thing we need to do is get about 5 to 6 master nodes, and then they'll have recurring income that will then be able to fund all our activity. I just love like Mark's face. Right. No, right now, this is something that I'm going to try to do as very much as possible for free.
Yeah,
just to get
that's kind of our implicit agreement. We want to start just doing what we know we can do, what we love to do, just getting the word out. And actually, Alan and I were talking in the car yesterday. Alan's a good project manager. Alan's going to help us to kind of organize and structure, and we're going to build a strategic plan, and we're going to execute as much of that plan as we can without going out for any funds, and just integrate that into our lives, because that's just what we love to do, and that's just who we are. Yeah, and then beyond that,
because just creating Facebook events or meetup things for meetups, like typing in a Discord channel or whatever, hey, there's this event coming. Who wants to go to that one? I'll go. All that kind of stuff, posting stuff on social media, all this kind of stuff, just sharing materials, like online materials, printed materials, just kind of sharing knowledge and stuff, connecting the Dash points together. That's doesn't cost money.
Right. I think
it's just need some time.
But I think it's worth throwing out. Like, I paid for my own flight to and from LA for both Politicon and CannMed. I think Joel did too. We didn't get reimbursed. I wasn't paid to speak. I gave of my time. I was out there for that whole period of time.
What kind of a loser gets paid to speak? I'm just kidding, but like seriously,
some people do. I think Craig Wright does.
Most of the people who do get paid to speak in the cryptoverse, most of them, I would never pay money to see them talk. I'm just like, look, you're Charlie Lee. Why you pay that guy to speak? You pay him to copy code too. Anyway,
right.
Sorry,
but I think it's just important. I mean, I think a lot of people don't understand that context, like how much we actually give of our time and money to just get the word out, to be these evangelists, because I think, we have this vision, we have this ethos, we have this feeling, and that's what we really want to build the street team around, is the passion to evangelize what essentially is a bigger truth of financial freedom and personal freedom and privacy and individual protections. But it just happens to manifest best in the form of this Dash cryptocurrency right now, in my opinion.
Yes. So basically, if we can't get some good traction on this for free, right? If we can't just get some volunteers getting together with a little bit of extra hours here or there, if we can't do all that for free, then it can't really be done that well for money. So we get something done for free, and then we just say, hey, maybe we need like a part-time person to start like organizing to start like keeping the calendar straight and doing that research, and do like a
Right.
few hours a week, that you can throw like a couple $100 at him, and then you can say, oh, well, someone needs a scheduler, someone needs to throw a couple $100 at her. Then you're like, well, what about printed materials? Now we've already gotten this. What if we need professional, cool looking ones? Let's pay a designer for like a one-time job to like do this. Oh, now when people hold these kinds of things, or they get their dash points set up with big stacks of all the kinds of flyers and stuff, we'll throw a few bucks to cover printing costs there. Like we just start throwing little bits of money here and there to just make it grow. But we're trying to do this. This isn't just going to be like people like rent seeking for jobs or something like that. This is something where we're going to maximize our efficiency and just explode this. Because remember, the Bitcoin revolution was done for free. There's very few people that got any kind of money to make that happen. Maybe
there needs to be a standardized approach, though. I know with our meetup programs before, we've always pointed to resources, whether it's be presentations, flyers, infographics, because you kind of want, if you've got people all around the world doing these presentations, you need to have some kind of guidelines to stick to, right?
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, we want to create an information resource also. And that's where, we can start by collecting the research that's out there, building what could be considered an authoritative resource, and maybe having some vetting moderation around it. There's a lot of options there that are also very low cost and community oriented.
Yeah, and a few different examples as well. And that's especially the thing about a cryptocurrency is a permissionless system. And we're not trying to hire a whole bunch of employees who have to do our bidding or have our branding or do things our way. We're just offering to help organize people and provide the best materials possible. If they want to like keep using the old Dash logo, like, Chuck's got over there and stuff, like I can't stop them just because we have like standardized materials. See, look at all you rebels. Just because we have standardized. Am I the only one with the real? Yeah. I mean, conflicting with this, but this is a collector's item. They don't make these anymore, so I have to keep it on the wall. So I'm just saying we can provide the best materials, some great standardized kind of stuff, and then, but if there's something else that's popular, just throw that in there too. Well, there's this one too, and then just hopefully we want people to take this resource and run with it and just start setting the world on fire with all these kinds of meetups and presentations and stuff, and just getting really excited about it, because I honestly feel like the whole crypto momentum, like the world's ready to be on fire for this stuff. And they're just like waiting for something to click in this place. Like, well, we're just all waiting because Bitcoin's ahead, so we got to wait for them. But then they're not, it doesn't really work. It's not ready. So we're going to wait for institutional money. And then, but what about off-chain? It's just all this like waiting and waiting and waiting. And then like, oh, Bitcoin Cash. Oh, well, we have to take over via the real Bitcoin. We have to like fight off Craig Wright and all the, and all Chain's hash power and CoinGeek stuff. And we have to like just all that stuff going on there. And this Litecoin just waiting for Bitcoin to succeed first. And just like so many of these things are just waiting around, and Dash is ready, but the masses and energy, there's like the few of us, the weird blue cult, like sometimes they call us. There's like the few of us who just like really got it and are excited about this. And everyone else is just like, well, master nodes, aren't they centralized? And just kind of like waiting in the wings. Get the energy behind what's ready. And I think that that's a great way of segueing into evolution and the much vaunted 12.4 initial preliminary update has been renamed 13.0, 0.13. You didn't hear that?
No.
This is the first you heard about that?
You didn't read my article, Chuck?
Yeah, come on, you asshole.
Sorry, I've been busy. Come on. When was it posted?
Yeah, it was yesterday. Yeah. Yes, so 12.4 has been renamed 13.0. And 13.0, what used to be the evolution first bit, is now 1.0 rather than 0.13.0. And
Wait a minute. I thought the DAPI was supposed to come with 13.0. Maybe they changed that. Maybe they pushed it out.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how it works, but the versioning tells an interesting story that everything in crypto is 0. something, right? Isn't Bitcoin 0.14 or something like that?
I can't remember. 16 now.
15 or 16, but it's still 0. something. It's still not for public consumption, right? It's just still this weird experimental.
It's still in beta.
Yeah, or alpha. I don't know. Or in like gamma if you're Tron. Or anyway, sorry.
Sure.
I'm just
The way I read it in like what I was researching, by no means am I an expert at versioning techniques, but it sounded like 1.0 is beta, 0 is like basically alpha, and then once you start getting into 2 and 3s, that's when you start getting into pre-releases and like public releases.
Yeah, so there's a few different ways that could work. But
Yeah,
the
it changes.
important way is 0 dot stuff. 0 means it's nothing. I mean, I'm not really saying like that, but I'm saying if you're a 0, you're a nothing. And if it's 0 dot something, it's just like, well, we're still working, or we're still playing around with this thing. 10 years later, don't you think we deserve a 1.0 somewhere? I'm just saying, and it's the attitude change of, of course, you can put whatever stupid number in front of it as you want. You can just put whatever. You can put just put 9,000. Dash 9,000 is coming out, and it's have all going Super Saiyan, all this kind of crap. Like, you can do whatever you want, and it's really the technology and the software that actually matters. But the attitude of 1.0 means we're ready to move this to the big leagues. This is ready to be real.
The contention was that that could have legal implications of that it's moved out of beta, that it's safe to use. I think that was part of the issue with it. People were worried that there was legal ramifications.
We should probably state why they decided to change the version in numbers. Justin, do you want to give a quick recap on that? Like, why is it so important, and why did the community care about 12.4 now being renumbered? Why is that so significant?
Yeah, so Liz, who you guys had on the podcast, it was last week, I believe.
Who's this?
But Elizabeth.
I'm messing with you, dude. Come on.
I missed that. I'm very gullible sometimes, but anyways.
Yes, keep going.
She's basically summed up in her Dash forum post that basically when they first called it 0.12.4, it just expanded beyond scopes to such a degree that it became warranted to name it 0.13, and then it became warranted to name Evolution 1.0. So it's just that as they started work on it, it just became more and more and more advanced that it warranted a higher version number. And she said to stay tuned for more updates on what is going to be in the release specifically.
Excellent. Exciting times. I'm still waiting. Exciting. I mean, like, I still got 12.4 just imprinted in my brain because I've been looking so forward to the stress test. And although you guys have been out on the road, meeting and singing the good gospel with Dash to everyone, all my eyes were on was on Money 2020 last week, and we've already discussed the Uphold integration into the Dash wallet, which was amazing. But so much has happened over the past few weeks from BitGo.
Yeah, Danny was there, and I was interviewing while he was interviewing people from Money 2020 while I was at CannMed.
Yeah, and we had Ryan Taylor's talk. There was a couple streams. I have heard they had a professional videographer there, so there will be a high quality one coming out soon. I guess they'll probably upload that to the main channel. But right now, there's only kind of live streams that are being uploaded. I think Uphold have one, and I think the Crypto Show did one as well. So alternate between both of them, because some of them just show Ryan, some show the slides as well. So they're definitely both worth checking out. But the big takeaway was Uphold, but they took all the partners to Money 2020, and Crypto Mobile released their K55 mobile phone, which is kind of a different version. It's kind of like it's got better hardware than the one that came before.
They have a $50 version and a $100 version of the phone pre-installed with all the Dash stuff.
Yeah, man. So there's a lot of exciting stuff happening. And of course, they had the rewards.com people there as well. Who else? Block Cypher was there. They don't get mentioned, but they help out with a lot of integrations. And there should be another video coming up with Karen soon, because she says there's a partnership or announcement that she wants to do. So that'll probably be a new video next week. Really good time. I mean, Brian, you've seen all this Money 2020 stuff. Was you satisfied as a hardcore Dash fan? Like, Money 2020, like the announcements, did it satisfy your needs?
Yeah.
You satisfied?
No, it's good. It was good. I'm always waiting for him to say Coinbase or something like that. So
Yeah, but I think you have to remember, I mean, Money 2020, you have to look at the audience there. There wasn't a lot of cryptocurrencies that were actually, I mean, there was a lot of speakers there, but you have to remember it's like $3,500 a ticket or something. So I know Cointelegraph did an article about Ryan's talk because he mentioned how like it's inevitable for central banks to jump on the blockchain cryptocurrency bandwagon. We've already seen some central banks do it already. I think Telegraph were a bit naughty the way they kind of like worded their title, but you know, it gets people to read the article. But I think Ryan's right.
They're a little naughty in a few other ways, as Justin's article recently pointed out, about like a giant chunk of the crypto media will just take money to publish stuff. And in fact, I tried to pass Cointelegraph some stories. Hey, what do you think about this one? They're like, oh, great. You have 1.5 Bitcoin for the month. I'm like, you fucking kidding me?
Right.
So yeah, that's happened to me too. So anyway, sorry for slamming fake news, but I wanted to give a shout out to Justin's cool article on that. And I want to also let you know that, as you know, Dash Force News, which this is not part of, this is just us rambling because we like to, but the news site is a journalistic news site, is funded by the Dash DAO. And so you don't have to worry about these conflicts of interest, or, you know, if Mark just like has 1 million Genesis mining contracts or something that are like skewing his ideas on stuff, or if, you know, Justin's got a few smart cash master nodes, or you don't have to like worry about that kind of stuff because you just already know the perspective. You already know it's supposed to be fair and accurate. And you also know it's there to talk about Dash and Dash's news. And so there you go. It's all out in the open. It's not like other things where it's like, well, does Digital Currency Group own part of this publication? Are they receiving money to do that? Like, you don't have to worry about any of that.
It's kind of historic.
You know
exactly
where we're at.
I got to give you guys props for that too, because you know there's been a couple times where I have wanted to come on and promote products or organizations that I'm working with, and both you, Mark and Joel, you guys like cut that shit out. Like we'll just talk about this and
and Billy,
this pretty good on that.
This we will say all kinds of bias and personal opinion and stuff, and people have tried to make us do this professional, but we just can't grow up. We're professional the rest of the time. This is just us and our opinions. And oddly enough, people are just like, people of multi-million-dollar corporations have like fought over trying to get on this show to talk about their stuff. I'm like, dude, we get like, what is it, like 600 views or something an episode? Like, why? What do us and our just chilling around? Like, what are we gonna do to help? You know. But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, this never started off as supposed to be like the premier Dash interview thing. It was just the three of us hanging out, and then nobody else stepped up, so it kind of turned into what it is.
Yeah, like a jolly good time.
It's about time to wrap it up, I think.
Oh yeah.
Right. Okay. Joel, do you want to do the honors?
Yeah. So first off, if you are at all part of a masternode, you have any party to that, it's voting time. Like now, like don't put it off till the rest of the weekend. You know you're gonna just get drunk and lazy or whatever, and you're just gonna miss another cycle. Don't miss this cycle. A lot of cool stuff going out. It's not in our place to tell you who or what to vote for. Just go out and vote. It's going to help. This also might be one of your last voting cycles with your masternode, because as soon as the newly christened 13.0 is out, everyone's going to have to restart their masternode, move their collateral to a new address. There's going to be Dash flying out. Look, there's going to be 5 million Dash flying all over the place.
Oh my God. Big liquidity event.
Yeah.
Isn't there a 5 million Dash test event coming up, or 5 million transactions? That's it.
Yeah. What if it's the same time? What if they're spamming the crap out of the network at the same time as people are trying to move their masters to keep their investment up and running? It's going to be glorious. Anyway, hopefully they space those out a little bit. But this might be the last time you get to vote in your old nostalgic node in your old address that's been there since like 2014 or whatever it's been. So go and vote. In addition to that, there's the after party. As we all know, we hold a after party after this for 10 people at a time, where we just do this, which we went a little casual today, but more casual than that, talking a bunch of stuff. You go to staydashy.com. That gets you in the Dash Talk Discord, and you start asking around, where's the after party at? And someone will get you in, space permitting. one of these days, if it becomes too big if it's just too much demand for everyone to be in, then we might split it off and have like one of the amigos start out a different room. And so we can have up to 20 people at a time or 30 people. We'll see. But I do have a surprise. No one here probably knows about it, but I do have a surprise, cool, awesome announcement just for the after party that otherwise you'll have to wait till Monday. And I'm not playing, by the way. None of you guys know about this yet.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you, Chuck, for coming on the podcast. Pleasure as always.
Thanks, man. I'm so glad to be here, and so glad to be a part of the Dash space still, and hope to do great work in Hawaii.
Yes, you're my favorite Dash point.
And how can we how can we get in contact with you? You're still on Discord, aren't you? And you're on Twitter.
Yeah, I show up occasionally on Discord. I at least a couple times a week, and then Twitter at ChuckWilliams37. It's probably the best spots to get a hold of me.
Well, good luck with the move, and I look forward to seeing the Dash point in Hawaii.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, I'll have to keep in touch with you on that. Justin as well. Thank you for coming on as well.
It's a pleasure.
Very, very insightful guy, and he has been doing a great job. So much.
I already got
much respect.
someone from the Street Team channel wanting to get into the after party. So
excellent. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Albert as well. He's getting married soon. I don't hope you guys mind me saying that, but he has been, he is kind of an unsung hero in the Dash Force team, and he's been working really hard on Discover Dash. It's not just the live chat support. He also helps with the uploading of the listings. And I'm personally really excited because we're so close to getting to the 4,000 merchant listings right now. So close.
How many do we got?
When I last looked, it was like 3,946.
Wow.
But this was like lunchtime. So it's been quite a few hours since I've checked, because it's now like 9:30 my time in the evening. So we might have even surpassed it now. But yeah, he's been doing a phenomenal job. So I wanted to give a shout out, and to the rest of the Dash Force team as well, our translators, everything else. So just want to make sure everyone gets their props. If you've enjoyed this episode 75 of the Dash Force for Amigos podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps. Help us get the message out. Have a fantastic weekend. It's Halloween weekend, so whatever you do, celebrate. Have a great time. And as always, have a fantastic weekend. Stay positive, stay humble, but most importantly, stay dashy.
Stay dashy, brother.
Stay dark.